Ni siquiera he comenzado. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Tienes miedo?
I've been really enjoying reading all the comments Lore Accurate Ganondorf has been getting. You've all been really nice and supportive and even generous, and it really means a lot to me, so thank you. I've also received a lot of questions on how I made the videos, so I figured I'd try and answer them all. I'll walk through my process, and even though I'm not giving a full-on tutorial, I'll try and include all the resources I use for whoever's interested. I also want to include some details I thought were funny and give some insight into my workflow. Like for example, the fact that I kept track of all my shots in a notepad text file because I'm a professional. I figured I'd break it down into chronological steps and then finish with some shot breakdowns of the more complicated scenes. So yeah, let's get started. I originally was just going to use the actual song, and I thought that would be okay since it's a parody mashup, but nope. Then I thought maybe I could use the Windows default MIDI sounds like how Terminal Montage uses in his videos. But after having worked on the full orchestrated mashup the whole time, this sounded really disappointing to me, so then I was like, hey wait, I know how to make decent MIDI orchestrations. A lot of the final battle theme from Tears of the Kingdom is already in the same key as Suavemente, which made it easy for me to find parts that go together. For example, I noticed this orchestral sting fit really well with the suave background vocals. I used the first phase theme to start because it's more atmospheric and kind of a build-up into the later parts. I was a little sad that I never found a good spot to use Bésame. I would have loved to do like a Bésame, like that. During the build-up into the transformation, I included some organ because I thought it would be a nice tribute. Some of you have asked how I did the voice, or did the transition into the Demon King voice. And well, I didn't. The clips are from the official Latin American Spanish dub by the voice actor Jaime Coyapardo. I also thought you might like to know that working on this video has inspired me to start learning Spanish myself. A lot of you have asked what the dance is actually called, so let me summarize. It's called merengue, which is also the name of the genre of music. This dance was actually banned for being too sexy. I wanted to make sure the choreography was fairly accurate to how people actually dance to Suavemente, so I looked up some tutorials. Then I edited clips from them to match my audio so I could refer to them while I animated. Originally, I was only going to animate this Ganondorf, which I found on Sketchfab. Eventually though, I got to the point where I realized I absolutely needed to do the Phase 2 Demon King transformation, and so I found the other forms on DeviantArt. If I had just used these three together from the start, it probably would have been a lot easier for me to transfer animations between the three models, but oh well. I figured it out eventually. I customized several aspects of the characters and rigging before actually getting started. One weird thing with the normal model was that he didn't actually have eyeballs, they were just flat planes, so I had to give him actual eyeballs. When you're animating, it's helpful to have a rig that uses inverse kinematics and drivers and all that stuff, so I did a lot of that. I found these tutorials on it really helpful. Following another tutorial, I did some custom stuff in the kimono so that it moves with his legs, which was helpful for physics simulation later. Let me give you a brief demonstration of how quickly you can animate once you have all this set up. So I'll just add a keyframe here, change the rotation of this one, maybe position of that, and I'll render that out really quick, and there you go. See how quick that was? I focused on larger movements first. I positioned the feet and hips, then the torso and arms, then the neck and head. Once the movements of the dance were finished, I worked on smaller details like facial expressions and speech. Once I felt like all the movements looked right, I was able to use the Bone Dynamics Pro plugin to simulate physics for his clothing, hair, and jewelry. Also, I did end up animating the Terminal Montage dances a while after I finished this video. When I originally downloaded the models, they looked like this, and it took me a while to get them to look how they do in the game. First, I had to get the distinctive cell shading look using toon shaders and get the lighting right. Then I had to incorporate rim shading, which is a huge part of the iconic look of the game. I also fixated on really small details. The hair started out looking like this, but then I realized I could add another brighter toon shader and mix it and it would look glossier like this. The Demon King form has animated textures and I was really proud of myself for... Sorry, I asked him not to do that. Anyway, I was especially proud of the hair because it's like the rim lighting itself is animated. For the Phantom clones, I reskinned the Demon King model with a gradient and then made the normal map glowy. I wanted the glowy texture to be proportional to the distance from the camera because that's how it works in the game. So I made this driver right here using an exponential function where the variable is the distance from the camera. Wait, no! Anyway, I used this exponential function to make it so when the camera is at x distance from the model, it has an emission strength of y, and it decreases as the camera gets further away but never becomes negative. I knew I wanted to imitate some of the camera angles that happen in the game, but I also wanted to have my own unique shots to showcase certain parts of the animation. I outlined my plan and decided on using 15 different shots over the course of the animation. Some are really simple camera movements like trucking or panning, and some are more complicated like this shaky dolly zoom or this arc shot. Some of the shots only required actual game footage or rotoscoping Link out of the game and into my shot, but sometimes I just needed background footage of the arena and I used a lot of ridiculous methods for getting it. I started off with this. Crouch box! I needed to force the game into first-person POV, and this was the easiest way to do it, but from here it got really complicated really quickly. I knew I wanted to have a couple dolly movements, but even if you turn off HUD, battery consumption shows up. So I needed to be able to have a moving vehicle that forces first-person POV while also not consuming battery. The solution? Frozen meat crouchbox hovercraft, obviously. Around this time, disaster struck. I had forgotten to disconnect my Switch from the internet, and on August 23rd, 2023, Tears of the Kingdom version 1.2.1 became active. This made it so you could no longer put Ganondorf in a little timeout box using the elevator rails or construct U pieces. I had already gotten most of the footage I needed, but I had been saving the most ridiculous one for last. If all the other shots weren't stupid enough already, I still needed that aerial arc shot I mentioned earlier. I would still need it to force first-person POV and be able to rotate without consuming battery. In order to achieve this, I decided to do kind of like a baby mobile that would anchor to the top of the arena, have a crouch box, and be counterweighted on the other side. It was really difficult to set this up now that I could no longer put Ganondorf in timeout, but I eventually got it and was thrilled to discover that he can't hit you if you're rotating. What I ended up with were several shots that I had to piece together into looking like one fluid shot. For the actual rendering, I set up a compositor for a mild glow. I also did a mist pass of each render separately so that I could apply some dark purple haziness to them. This helped to make the distances more believable and make the characters and effects look more natural in the environment. I wanted to start my animation right when he initially jumps down from the gloom platform. To make the transition as smooth as possible, I needed to have the landing smoke as well as multiple layers of gloom from the platform dissipating. Leading into the transformation, Ganondorf becomes surrounded by gloom flames. I made all my gloom flames with the help of this tutorial. It was a little difficult for me to follow because I don't speak Japanese, but it was perfect for the look I was going for. I recreated the stone summon graphic from scratch because I wanted to get a feel for it, but then also be able to replace the symbol with suave. It's got a particle system for the build-up, one for the pre-burst, 2 separate bursts, a color implosion thing, glowy tint, and I used the 3D Strokes plugin to make animated tendrils. And of course the suave, which is directly from the album cover. Altogether it looks like this. For the actual transformation, I made several layers of gloom flames and sparks, and then to make them actually 3D, I used them as textures on a bunch of warped planes in Blender. When the Phantom clones spawn in the game, they're surrounded by these gloom cloud particles. To replicate this, I made an animated cloud and then made 2 sets of particle emitter systems, one for in front of the clone and one for behind it. They're made to look like they're swirling around the clone. Once these were done, I went back into Blender and placed them on planes that tracked to the camera, and then rendered the clones out individually. And there you go, that's how I made the video. It's not a mod at this point, I haven't learned how to do Switch mods yet, but maybe someday? Or if someone wants to use these animations to make a mod, then let me know. I hope this was helpful and informative, and I'll put links in the description to all the tutorials I mentioned. Let me know if I missed anything, and I'll try and I'll do my best. Yeah. Thanks again for all your support and for being nice people who are nice to me. Supabeebs commented that this video was almost perfect, but that it was missing Foley work. Like you should be able to hear him clapping in his clothing and jewelry, and you know what? Yeah, you're right, so I tried it out. I realized it's really funny if you just cut the music, and I'll leave you with that.
A ver si te gusta esto. ¡Toma! Ni siquiera he comenzado. ¿Qué pasa? ¿Tienes miedo?